Admiral Kethvar floated in his command chamber aboard the massive Vraxian flagship. His 6 eyes studied the holographic display showing dozens of warships gathered around Kepler Defense Station. This was the biggest military meeting in galactic history. Representatives from 12 different alien species had brought their finest vessels to welcome the newest members of the Galactic Council. The humans. Kethvar's tentacles twitched as he examined the human fleet through his sensors. Their ships looked strange compared to the elegant curves of Centauran vessels or the crystal formations of the Zephyrian war cruisers. Human ships were blocky, gray, and covered in odd bumps and towers. But what puzzled him most were their names. Every other species in the galaxy followed proper traditions. The Vraxians named their ships after great warriors from history. The Centaurans chose beautiful concepts like harmony and peace. The Andromedans picked names of their gods and goddesses. Even the warlike Drakmor used titles that struck fear into enemies. But humans, they used numbers and letters. Commander Lee Minho stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the alien fleet surrounding them. He had served in Earth's Navy for 15 years, but this was his first assignment with aliens. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Park So-young, was busy, checking their systems for the 10th time that morning. "Sir," Park said, "the station commander is asking for our fleet roster. They want the names of all our ships for the ceremony." Minho nodded. "Send them our standard identification. We have CVN-68 as flagship, escorted by DDG-51, SSN-688, and LCS-15. Park typed the information into her console and transmitted it to the station. Within minutes, her communications board lit up with incoming messages. "Sir, we're getting a lot of questions about our ship names," she reported. "The Centauran fleet commander wants to know what CVN-68 means. The Vraxian admiral is asking if we forgot to include our real ship names." Minho almost smiled. This happened every time humans met new alien species. "Tell them those are our ship designations. That's how we identify our vessels." Meanwhile, Admiral Kethvar was having a heated discussion with his staff officers. "Are you certain the humans sent their complete roster?" he asked his communications officer. "Yes, Admiral, but their response seems incomplete. They only sent alphanumeric codes." Kethvar's main eye focused on the data. CVN-68, DDG-51, SSN-688, LCS-15. What did any of this mean? Where were the proud names that honored ancestors or celebrated victories? "Perhaps," suggested his tactical officer, "their translation systems are malfunctioning. Maybe these codes are how their computers identify ships internally." "Possibly," Kethvar mused. "Or maybe they are too primitive to understand proper naming traditions." This thought troubled him. The humans had impressed everyone with their technology when they first made contact. Their weapons were crude, but effective. Their ships were ugly, but functional. But if they couldn't even name their vessels properly, how advanced could they really be? He decided to investigate further. Opening a communication channel, he contacted the human flagship directly. "Human Commander, this is Admiral Kethvar of the Vraxian Imperial Fleet. I have received your ship roster, but I believe there may be an error. You have only sent identification codes. Could you please transmit the actual names of your vessels?" The human ship Commander Lee received the message with a slight frown. Lieutenant Choi Ji-woo, his communications officer, looked up from her station. "Sir, should I explain our hull number system to them?" "Not yet," Minho replied. "Let's see how this plays out. Tell the Admiral that the codes we sent are our official ship designations." The response puzzled Kethvar even more. Official designations? These random combinations of letters and numbers were how humans officially identified their warships. He shared this information with the other fleet commanders. Captain Thulas of the Andromedans was shocked. How do they honor their heroes without proper ship names? Commander Zilnith of the Centaurans was equally confused. How do their crews feel pride in serving aboard a vessel called DDG-51? Where is the poetry? Where is the soul? The Drakmor war chief Gorthak simply laughed. Typical humans. They have no sense of tradition or honor. They probably number their warriors too. As news of the human naming system spread through the alien fleet, it became a source of amusement and concern. Some species found it funny that humans couldn't think of proper names for their ships. Others worried that this showed a lack of cultural development. Lieutenant Park noticed the increased chatter on alien communication channels. "Sir, they're talking about our hull numbers a lot. Most of them seem to think we're either primitive or our translators are broken." Minho looked out at the beautiful alien ships floating nearby. Each one probably had a name with deep meaning and history. He understood why the aliens were confused. From their perspective, human ship designations probably looked cold and meaningless. But he also knew something they didn't understand yet. Those seemingly random numbers and letters contained more tactical information than the most elaborate alien ship name. CVN-68 told any human naval officer exactly what kind of ship they were dealing with, its capabilities, its mission, and its place in the fleet structure. The aliens would learn soon enough. The joint military exercise was scheduled to begin tomorrow, and then they would see why humans had developed such a practical approach to ship identification. The morning of the exercise arrived with all the ceremony typical of galactic military traditions. Admiral Kethavar watched from his command center as the various alien fleets performed their pre-battle rituals. The Centaurans sang harmonious war chants that echoed through space communications. The Andromedans lit sacred fires aboard their ships to bless their weapons. The Drakmor warriors beat their chest plates in rhythm, creating a thunderous sound that vibrated through hull plating. The humans simply ran system checks. Commander Lee Minho stood quietly on his bridge, reviewing the exercise parameters on his tactical display. The scenario was straightforward. Enemy forces would attack Kepler Station from 3 different directions. The combined fleet had to defend the station while minimizing casualties and protecting civilian evacuation ships. "All stations report ready, sir," Lieutenant Park So-young announced from her position. "Very good. Signal the fleet that we're prepared to begin." The exercise director, a tall Zephyrian named Veltar, began the countdown over the fleet-wide communication network. "All vessels prepare for combat simulation. Enemy forces will appear in 30 seconds. Remember, this is a test of interspecies cooperation. May wisdom guide your actions." The first wave of simulated enemy ships materialized on the outer edge of the sensor grid. Immediately, chaos erupted across the alien communication channels. Captain Thulis of the Divine Light of Eternal Wisdom opened his communications with a formal declaration. "Honored allies, the sacred vessel, Divine Light of Eternal Wisdom, requests permission to engage the enemies of peace. Our ship carries the blessings of the 7 moons and is armed with 42 pulse cannons, 16 torpedo tubes, and shields blessed by the high priests of Andromeda. We await your tactical assessment and formal engagement authorization." The response came from Fleet Command after several minutes of processing. "Sacred vessel, Divine Light of Eternal Wisdom. You are authorized to engage targets in Sector 7. Please coordinate with the harmony of stars dancing and the whisper of ancient winds for maximum effectiveness." Meanwhile, Commander Zilnith of the Centauran fleet was having his own communication difficulties. "Beautiful allies, the vessel. Song of Peaceful Waters seeks guidance. Our ship contains 120 crew members, each trained in the ancient ways of harmonious combat. We carry weapons of crystal and light, powered by the songs of our homeworld. Which enemies should we engage to maintain balance in the cosmic dance?" The lengthy exchange continued as each alien commander provided detailed descriptions of their vessels, capabilities, and spiritual preparations. The communication networks became clogged with ceremonial language and cultural protocols. On the human flagship, Lieutenant Choi Ji-woo monitored the alien chatter with growing concern. "Sir, the other fleets are taking a very long time to coordinate their response. The first enemy wave is already within weapons range." Commander Lee glanced at his tactical display. The simulated enemy ships were moving fast, using the aliens' slow coordination against them. "How long are they taking per tactical decision?" "Average of 4 minutes, sir. They have to explain their ship capabilities, get authorization from Fleet Command, coordinate with nearby vessels, and perform various ceremonial requirements." Minho nodded grimly. In real combat, 4 minutes might as well be 4 hours. "Open Fleet Tactical Channel." "Channel open, sir." DDG-51 engage targets bearing 090 degrees. CVN-68 launching strike package. SSN-688. Take position depth 500 and prepare for torpedo run. LCS-15. Move to search and rescue position near the station. The human fleet responded instantly. The destroyer turned toward its assigned targets and began firing. The aircraft carrier launched its fighters in perfect formation. The submarine dove to attack position. The littoral combat ship moved to protect evacuation routes. The entire exchange took 15 seconds. Admiral Kethvar watched in amazement as the human vessels moved like parts of a single machine. While his own fleet was still processing the ceremonial requirements for engaging the enemy, the humans had already destroyed half of the first attack wave. How did they coordinate so quickly? His tactical officer asked. I don't understand it, either, Kethvar admitted. They used the same strange codes as before. DDG-51, CVN-68, SSN-688. Somehow their ships know exactly what to do when they hear these designations. The second wave of enemy ships appeared, larger and more aggressive than the first. The alien fleets finally completed their coordination process and began engaging, but their responses remained slow and ceremonial. Captain Thulas opened communications again. Sacred allies, the divine light of eternal wisdom, has successfully destroyed 3 enemy vessels. We now request permission to pursue the fleeing enemies, but first we must perform the ritual of victory gratitude, which requires 8 minutes of ceremonial chanting. While the Andromedans prepared their victory ritual, the human fleet was already engaging the second wave. CVN-68 to DDG-51, enemy reinforcements detected. Adjust fire pattern to cover escape routes. DDG-51 acknowledged. Shifting to intercept formation. SSN-688 reports torpedo solutions on primary targets. Firing now. The simulated enemy ships found themselves caught in a perfectly coordinated trap. The human vessels seemed to anticipate each other's moves without lengthy discussions or ceremonial protocols. Lieutenant Park monitored the tactical situation from her station. Sir, we're operating at 400% efficiency compared to the Allied fleet. Commander, Lee watched the alien ships finally moving into position. They were brave and well-equipped, but their beautiful traditions were costing them precious time in combat. Time that real enemies would never give them. The exercise was going well until Lieutenant Park's sensor board exploded with new contacts. Her face went pale as she studied the readings twice to make sure she wasn't seeing things. Sir, we have a problem, she announced, her voice tight with concern. I'm detecting real energy signatures coming out of hyperspace. These aren't simulation targets. Commander Lee moved quickly to her station and looked at the display. 12 ships were dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Their hull designs were unfamiliar, but their weapons were definitely real. Pirates, he said grimly. They're using the exercise as cover for a raid. On his flagship, Admiral Kethvar received the same alarming news from his sensor operator. The Vraxian's tentacles went rigid with shock as he realized what was happening. All vessels, attention, he broadcast across all fleet channels. This is no longer a simulation. We have hostile contacts incoming. Repeat, we have real enemies approaching the station. The response from the alien fleets was immediate but chaotic. Every species had different protocols for switching from training exercises to actual combat situations. Captain Thulas of the Divine Light of Eternal Wisdom began the traditional Andromedan war blessing ceremony. This involved lighting sacred fires, reciting the names of fallen heroes, and asking the gods for protection in battle. The entire ritual would take 8 minutes to complete, and Andromedan military law forbade engaging enemies before finishing. Commander Zilneth faced his own problems aboard the Song of Peaceful Waters. Centauran vessels required unanimous crew agreement before firing weapons at living beings. He had to poll all 120 crew members and get their spiritual consent for combat operations. The Drakmor war chief Gorthak was ready to fight immediately, but his ship's weapon systems required special activation codes that only the high command on his homeworld could provide. He was frantically trying to establish communications across interstellar distances. Meanwhile, the pirate ships were accelerating toward Kepler Station at maximum speed. Their plan was simple: hit the station's cargo bays, grab whatever valuable idei, supplies they could find, and escape before the military fleet could respond. Commander Lee watched the tactical situation develop with growing urgency. The alien fleets were brave and well-equipped, but their cultural protocols were preventing them from responding to the immediate threat. "All human vessels, this is CVN-68, he transmitted on the fleet tactical channel. "We have confirmed hostile contacts, switching from exercise to combat operations. Rules of engagement are weapons-free on all unidentified vessels." The human fleet's response was instant and coordinated. DDG-51 reports weapon systems hot. Moving to intercept position. SSN-688, going to silent running. Positioning for torpedo attack. LCS-15 moving to protect evacuation ships. Medical bay standing by for casualties. CVN-68 launching full strike package. F-35s away. Within 90 seconds of confirming the threat, human fighters were screaming through space toward the attacking pirates. The destroyer was moving to block their approach to the station. The submarine had disappeared from sensors, positioning itself for a surprise attack. Admiral Kethavar watched in amazement as the human vessels moved into perfect combat formation, while his own allies were still performing their pre-battle rituals. "How are they doing this?" his tactical officer asked. "They're coordinating faster than our computer systems can process the data." "I don't know," Kethavar admitted, "but we need to support them." The first pirate ship exploded as human torpedoes found their target. The submarine had struck without warning, using the confusion of the exercise to get into perfect attack position. Captain Thulas was only halfway through his war blessing when he saw the explosion on his display. "By the 7 moons," he breathed, "the humans are already fighting." "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "should we interrupt the ceremony to join the battle?" Thulas faced a terrible choice. Andromedan tradition demanded completion of the war blessing, but people were dying while he recited ancient words. Meanwhile, the human strike fighters engaged the pirate fleet in a series of lightning-fast attacks. The pirates had expected to catch a confused collection of ships running exercise drills. Instead, they found themselves facing a coordinated military response that seemed to anticipate their every move. CVN-68 to all vessels. Commander Lee, broadcast on the General Fleet Channel. "Pirates are attempting to flank around the station's north pole. Any ships available for intercept?" The Zephyrian cruiser, Crystal Wind, was the first to respond. "We are moving to intercept, Human Commander. Thank you for the tactical update." More alien ships began joining the fight as they completed their various protocols, but the human fleet had already destroyed half the pirate force and was systematically hunting down the survivors. Lieutenant Choi monitored the communications traffic from her station. "Sir, the alien fleets are asking how we coordinate so quickly. They want to know our secret." Commander Lee watched another pirate ship explode under combined fire from human and Vraxian weapons. "Tell them we'll explain after we finish cleaning up this mess." The last pirate ship tried to escape, but the submarine was waiting for it. Another torpedo flash and the threat was over. The entire battle had lasted less than 10 minutes. The human fleet had engaged immediately while their allies were still preparing for combat. It was a lesson in military efficiency that the galaxy would not soon forget. The space around Kepler Station was filled with debris from the destroyed pirate ships. Emergency crews worked to clear the wreckage while medical teams treated the few casualties from the brief battle. The alien fleet commanders were shaken by how quickly the fight had ended, and more importantly, by how the humans had responded while everyone else was still getting ready. Admiral Kethavar floated in his command chamber, staring at the tactical replay of the battle. His 6 eyes tracked the movement of human ships across the display. What he saw didn't make sense according to everything he knew about military coordination. The human vessels had moved like they shared a single mind. When their commander said DDG-51, that ship immediately knew what to do. When he said SSN-688, the submarine moved to the perfect attack position without asking questions. It was as if those strange letter and number combinations contained detailed battle orders. He opened a direct communication channel to the human flagship. "Commander Lee, I request permission to come aboard your vessel. We need to discuss your coordination methods." 30 minutes later, Admiral Kethvar materialized in the transport bay of the human ship. The interior was plain and functional, very different from the decorated halls of Vraxian vessels. Commander Lee met him personally, along with Lieutenant Park and Lieutenant Choi. "Admiral, welcome aboard," Lee said formally. "I understand you have questions about our fleet operations." Kethvar's tentacles moved nervously as they walked through the ship's corridors. "Commander, what I witnessed today challenges everything. I know about military science. Your ships responded to combat threats in under 2 minutes. My fleet needed 8 minutes just to activate our weapon systems." They entered the ship's briefing room, where Lee gestured for the Admiral to take a seat designed for non-human visitors. "Would you like to see our tactical coordination system?" "Very much so." Lieutenant Park activated a holographic display showing the recent battle. "Admiral, when Commander Lee said DDG-51, every human officer in the fleet immediately knew he was talking about an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer." Kethvar's primary eye focused intently on the display. "Arleigh Burke-class? That's a specific type of ship," Lee explained. "The designation tells us exactly what weapons it carries, how many crew members are aboard, what its mission capabilities are, and how it should be used in combat." "You mean, your number codes contain tactical information?" Lieutenant Choi brought up another display. "CVN-68 means nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, hull number 68. Every human naval officer knows that CVN ships carry fighter aircraft, have specific defensive capabilities, and serve as command centers for fleet operations." Kethvar's mind raced as he began to understand. "These designations are not names, they are compressed databases." "Exactly," Lee nodded. "SSN-688 tells us it's a Los Angeles-class attack submarine. We know immediately that it's designed for stealth operations, carries specific torpedo types, and has particular depth and speed capabilities." The Admiral's tentacles writhed in amazement. "But how do you remember all this information?" Park smiled slightly. "Training, sir. Every human naval officer studies hull classifications from their first day in the academy. We learn what each letter combination means, what each number sequence represents. It becomes second nature. On Vraxia, we name our ships after great warriors," Kethvar said slowly. "The name Sword of Mighty Gorthak tells us about honor and tradition, but nothing about the ship's actual capabilities." "That's not wrong," Lee assured him. "Beautiful names inspire crews and celebrate culture. But in combat, we need information, not inspiration." Lieutenant Choi pulled up historical records on her tablet. "Our system developed over centuries of naval warfare on Earth. When ships were fighting in bad weather or poor visibility, commanders needed to know instantly what help was available. A ship named Beautiful Morning might be a cargo vessel or a battleship, but DDG-51 tells you exactly what you're dealing with." Kethvar studied the human officers carefully. "This is why you responded so quickly during the pirate attack. When your commander said DDG-51 engaged targets, the destroyer's captain immediately knew what weapons to use and what tactics to employ." "Correct. The hull number contains the ship's entire tactical profile," Lee confirmed. "We don't waste time explaining capabilities or asking for detailed orders. The designation tells us everything we need to know." The Admiral was quiet for several minutes, processing this information. "Commander, do all human military units use this system?" "Ground forces, air forces, naval forces, yes. We have designation systems for everything from individual weapons to entire army divisions. It allows for very rapid coordination during combat operations." "And you learned this from fighting on your homeworld?" Lee nodded grimly. "Earth's oceans are dangerous, Admiral. Storms can appear without warning. Enemy attacks happen at night. When you're fighting for survival, every second counts. We developed these systems because beautiful names don't stop incoming torpedoes." Kethvar's understanding dawned completely. What we saw as cultural poverty was actually military evolution. "Our ancestors had to choose," Lieutenant Park added. "Pretty names or practical communication. They chose practical because that's what keeps people alive." The Admiral stood slowly, his respect for the humans growing with each revelation. Commander Lee, I believe the Galactic Council needs to learn about your methods. This could revolutionize how we coordinate our fleets. Lee exchanged glances with his officers. We'd be honored to share our knowledge, Admiral. After all, we're all on the same side now. 3 hours after the last pirate ship exploded, the combined fleet was still cleaning up the aftermath of the battle. Rescue ships moved between the alien vessels, helping repair damaged systems and treating wounded crew members. The human fleet had suffered only minor damage, a few scorch marks on hull plating and some overheated weapon systems. Admiral Kethvar floated in his command center, reading damage reports from across the alien fleet. The divine light of eternal wisdom had taken heavy hits while completing its war blessing ceremony. The Song of Peaceful Waters had lost 2 crew members because they couldn't respond quickly enough to incoming fire. The Drakmor vessel, Iron Fang, was still waiting for weapon activation codes from their homeworld. Meanwhile, every human ship was fully operational and ready for another fight. The Admiral opened his personal communication log and began composing a message to the Galactic Council Military Committee. This would be one of the most important reports he had ever written. Esteemed Council members, he began, today's events have revealed a significant weakness in our current fleet coordination protocols. While our ships are individually powerful and our crews are brave, we lack the rapid response capabilities demonstrated by the human fleet. On the human flagship, Commander Lee was having his own conversation with Earth Command. The holographic image of Admiral Kim Soo-jin appeared in his ready room, her expression serious but pleased. Commander, your performance today has impressed our new allies, she said. How do you assess the situation?
The alien fleets are capable, Admiral, but their cultural protocols slow down their response times significantly. In the time it took them to authorize weapons use, we had already engaged and destroyed half the enemy force. Admiral Kim nodded
thoughtfully. Are they interested in learning our methods? Very much so. Admiral Kethvar specifically requested information about our hull designation system. I think they're beginning to understand the advantages of practical communication over ceremonial language. Meanwhile, across the alien fleet, similar conversations were taking place. Captain Thulas was speaking with his crew about the day's events. My friends, he addressed his officers, we must consider what we witnessed today. While we honored the gods with our war blessing, the humans were saving lives with their quick actions. His tactical officer, a young Andromedan named Velthara, spoke carefully. Captain, are you suggesting we abandon our sacred traditions? Not abandon, Thulas replied, but perhaps we can find ways to honor tradition while also protecting the innocent. The gods would want us to save lives, not lose them to ceremony. Similar discussions were happening throughout the alien fleet. The Centaurans were debating whether crew consensus was more important than rapid response. The Drakmor were questioning their dependence on homeworld authorization for weapon use. 2 days later, Admiral Kethvar received a priority message from the Galactic Council. The military committee had reviewed his report and wanted immediate consultation with human naval experts. Commander Lee found himself standing before a holographic assembly of the galaxy's most powerful military leaders. Representatives from 12 species studied him with expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. Commander, spoke Counselor Veltar, the Zephyrian who chaired the military committee, Admiral Kethvar's report claims your fleet coordination methods are superior to our established protocols. Please explain. Lee activated a presentation, prepared by Lieutenant Park. Honorable Counselors, our hull designation system allows for instantaneous tactical communication. When I say DDG-51, every human officer knows I'm referring to a guided missile destroyer with specific capabilities. But what of tradition? Interrupted the Andromedan representative. How do you honor your ancestors without proper ship names? With respect, Counselor, we honor our ancestors by using the wisdom they gained through hard experience. Every hull number represents lessons learned in combat, often at the cost of many lives. The Drakmor counselor leaned forward aggressively. Are you saying our methods are inferior? Not inferior, Lee replied diplomatically. Different. Your methods inspire courage and maintain cultural identity. Ours prioritize speed and clarity in combat situations. Both have value. Counselor Veltar studied the data on his display. Commander, if we were to implement aspects of your system, how would it work? Lieutenant Choi, who had joined the presentation, stepped forward. We could develop a hybrid approach, keep traditional names for ceremony and inspiration, but add tactical designations for combat operations. The discussion continued for hours. The alien counselors asked detailed questions about training requirements, implementation costs, and cultural compatibility. Finally, Counselor Veltar called for a decision. The committee will vote on establishing a joint working group to develop new fleet coordination protocols, incorporating human tactical designation methods. The vote was unanimous. 3 months later, the first joint training exercise using the new hybrid system took place. Ships kept their traditional names but also received tactical designations. The Divine Light of Eternal Wisdom became An Crew 07, indicating Andromedan Cruiser, 7th in the series. The Song of Peaceful Waters became Sendi's 12, for Centauran Destroyer. Admiral Kethvar watched the exercise from his flagship, now designated Vrabat 01, for Vraxian Battleship. When the simulated enemy appeared, the fleet's response time had improved by 75%. All vessels, he broadcast, and Crew 07 and Sendes 12 engaged targets in Sector 4, Vrabat 01 providing fire support. The response was immediate and coordinated. Ships that once took minutes to process orders now reacted in seconds. Commander Lee observed from the human flagship, now officially designated HUM-CVN 68. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the most practical solution looked strange to those who had never faced the brutal necessity of survival. The lesson was simple. In the depths of space, as in Earth's ancient oceans, efficiency could mean the difference between coming home safely and never coming home at all.